Hi everyone, so Performance Samples recently released a new strings sample library that is called Vista, and it focuses entirely on legato articulations. So let's check it out. Okay, so let's listen to a little snippet that I've prepared, and then let's talk about the individual instruments and sections. Okay, so let's go through the individual patches, and to do so, I will also deactivate a little bit of compression. If you're interested, what I was using, it was the Drummer, the S73, for just some slight compression. We do a direct comparison later on, and I also used Cinematic Rooms Professional, just the damn tall patch. I reduced the dry-wet ratio a little bit, but I will deactivate this now and play you the individual patches here. So first the basses. And now the cellos. I think this legato is really beautiful sounding. Okay, next up, let's listen to the violas. So let me play you the second violins now. Beautiful. And next up, Violins 1, which is actually the same patch, but a little bit higher in different notes. Okay, so now let me quickly show you what I did. So I just have a little compression going. So let me just turn this on by playing this track here. So it kind of glues that whole arrangement a little bit together. So let's activate the reverb. Let's also turn this on and off. play you the same passage again. So let's quickly talk a little bit about Reverb here. Why did I use this patch? Why did I use Cinematic Rooms Professional? Simply, I just looked around for kind of like a dark hall that isn't too bright, so the patch Damn Tall was perfect. I tweaked a little bit of that dry-wet ratio, set it to like roughly 30% something, and also I brought down a little bit of that high frequency curve here, so put it down a little bit so the reverb doesn't sound too bright. And that was basically it. I could have used any other reverb, but what I'm doing in general is just browsing through the patches to kind of get some idea where I want to go to and then go from there. I could have easily used Seventh Heaven or Lexicon Reverb or anything else if I would have liked the result. So it's nothing I think too much about. Also regarding the entire reverb discussion, I would just recommend, if you want to have an easy but very well working solution, just route all of your, for example, strings to a strings bus, route all your brass to brass bus, and so on, woodwinds, percussions, and then apply one instance of reverb for each of these buses and fool around with a dry wet mix here. And use it as an insert effect. I mean, if you know what you're doing, if you want to use send and returns, this is how you work. If you additionally need an EQ to put in front of or after the reverb or whatever you want to do, whatever you use to work and it sounds good, then of course go for it. But there is so much confusion when it comes to reverb. I think the easiest one is to simply work with insert effects. And even another easy solution would be to have strings, brass, woods, and percussion, these buses with no reverb applied, and route them all into an orchestra bus and then put one instance of reverb on there, and you would really be surprised how good it sounds when you just use the room of the individual libraries or whatever you're layering or using, and then route this all into one reverb. There is nothing wrong. It doesn't matter how many professionals work different. You always have to apply to your workflow. Does it make sense if you adapt to the workflow of, let's say, a famous composer? If a famous composer has a mixing engineer that really loves to have the dry and the wet signal split because they want to have the full control on it, then of course it's an entirely different situation. So you have to work with send and returns and all this stuff. But if you are just mixing the stuff by yourself, or if you just have to deliver stamps, why not using insert reverb? It makes stuff so much easier, and as I said before, you can entirely focus on the mix, the writing, the arrangement, and everything that's important. Okay, so let's quickly noodle around a little bit with these patches here so you can really hear how alive this library sounds. So let's listen to the cello for a second here. Okay, so as I said before, Vista entirely focuses on legato, but I think it does it extremely well. And I've also seen a few discussions on the web about artifacts of the library. You may hear eventually some kind of like a little bow noise or a string noise or whatever, but I think I welcome these a lot when I'm working, because if you are used, or if you know when you're recording with a real orchestra, there is so much noise in there. There are page turns in there. There are little breathings in there, noises from the bow, the woodwind players, the brass players, so basically from everyone. And in my opinion, especially when working with samples, it adds to that live feeling you're getting out of sample libraries, because these things are most of the time, let's say, clean and sterile. These are just recorded notes. So I welcome all of these fragments and artifacts that are in there that create this kind of live environment of the entire orchestral hall. Okay, so now as you can see, I opened that little bonus folder in here, and we got 3 additional patches in here. And the first one is a 3 violins triple F overlay. So let's check this out. So this patch definitely comes in handy when things get really loud. So also let's check out the next one. It's full strings sustain patch. So it may happen during your arrangement that you just want a sustain patch, to quickly come up with a sketch or anything, and then split out all of these individual parts later on. It also helps if you just want to put in some additional notes. For example, if you want to, let's say, fake a divisi of the violas or the second violins and come up with a few of the additional notes you want to put in there. So this sustain patch comes in handy too. So last but not least, we also have a harp in here. So I'm seeing that harp kind of like an accompaniment to the strings, just in case if you want to add that typical harp color to the string. So it makes sense that it has been recorded in the same room, so you got that same information out there. I wouldn't call it like a standalone harp library or anything. So see Vista as the legato strings library that it is, and of course all the additional stuff as bonus material. Okay, so that's it. Last but not least, I want to say, if you're looking for a sample library that does strings legato very well, you definitely want to check out Vista. I put the link down in the video description. Thank you so much for chiming in. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel just in case if you haven't already. Also, I would be really happy to see you on my next video. So long, take care, and thank you for watching. Bye.